All right, shifting our focus, global military spending reached a new peak in 2024, totaling a little over $2.7 trillion, and this marks an increase of 9.4% than what was in 2023. A latest report by the Stockholm International Peace Research, SIPRI, a leading think tank, suggests that over 100 countries spent more on the military than in the previous year. However, this is not a new event per se, with military spending rising steadily worldwide over the past 10 years. But 2024 is different, as it saw the most rapid rise within a single year. That's since the Cold War era. What explains this? Why are countries ramping up the military expenditure? 2024 is the year which has seen conflicts intensifying and wars breaking out in various parts of the world, especially in Europe and West Asia, areas which report a major increase in spending, be it the war in Ukraine or the crisis along the Gaza Strip. Much of money was shelled out in procuring arms and ammunition and fortifying indigenous defense capabilities. The SIPRI report lists out top 5 military spenders, namely the United States of America, China, Russia, Germany, accounting for 60% of the global total. Well, India also features in the same list, sharing a 3.2% share of the total spending in 2024. The same report also outlines the fact that India's military spending in 2024 was nearly 9 times that of Pakistan's expenditure. As per SIPRI, India's expenditure grew by 1.6% to $86.1 billion, which is nearly 9 times that of Pakistan's spending, which spent $10.2 billion. Now, coming to the global superpowers, US and China. It's no secret that China has been flexing its military muscle by upgrading its armed forces and also expanding its nuclear arsenal. As per the report, it ramped up its budget by 7% to an estimated $314 billion. What's more, China accounts for a chunk of military spending in the East Asia region as well, bearing nearly half of all expenditure in Asia. However, with all its measures in place, China is yet to topple the United States of America as the world's top spender on its military. Now, in 2024, US spent $997 billion in its armed forces, a clear indicator that America remains committed to modernizing its military in a bid to maintain one-upmanship over Russia and China. Well, as far as Europe is concerned now, Germany has contributed majorly to all the developments by far. It is the largest defense spender in Europe as the continent rearms to meet threats. In the current standing, Germany ranks 4th as a spender, up from the 7th place in 2023. And the signs are as clear as day. Given the provision of special funds for strengthening its armed forces, recently, Germany has vowed that it will step up military role in NATO amid increased uncertainty.
Recently, the German parliament changed the constitution to massively increase its defense spending. This is remarkable. Another clear demonstration of German leadership. There was a time when NATO wanted to keep the Germans down, as NATO's first Secretary General famously said. Not anymore. The Germans are up. And this is exactly what we need in the face of greater danger.
And not just Germany, high defense budgets have been observed all across Europe, with countries like Poland, Sweden bucking up in the previous year thanks to the war in Ukraine, now in its 3rd year and sees no signs of slowing down anytime soon, coupled with massive investments on defense and military aid. In West Asia, Israel stands out, raising its military spending by 65% to $46.5 billion in 2024. The reasons are far more obvious. The war in Gaza, an escalated conflict with Hezbollah. Given the current world order fraught with geopolitical shifts and uncertainty, every nation is putting its best foot forward to have its tracks covered should it come under attack in near future. As new conflict zones are suspected to emerge in the coming days, countries across Asia, Europe are bracing themselves for a deadly arms race. And reports like this only throws a much-needed spotlight on who has an upper hand. First, there were economic woes, and now a currency crisis. Bangladesh is feeling the pinch, quite literally, as banks struggle to release new currency notes into circulation. This is following the decision of the interim government led by Mohammad Yunus not to issue previously printed notes. And this has left the market reeling and customers suffering big time, owing to a widened gap between demand and supply. Well, the crisis deepened when the central bank ordered all scheduled banks to stop issuing new notes featuring the image of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. As a result, 15,000 crore Bangladeshi taka or $1.2 billion worth of new notes now lie unused in bank vaults across the country. Citizens and businesses are left dealing with torn, dirty and almost unusable currency, with the central bank instructing banks to rely solely on recirculated currency. A nationwide shortage of usable cash has now emerged. Shops are rejecting damaged notes, banks are flooded with complaints, and ATMs are dispensing old and degraded bills. Customers are reporting financial losses and breakdown in daily transactions. The suspension of new note exchanges has caused disruptions in retail and banking operations, straining both consumers and the financial system. Well, according to reports, the decision to withhold fresh notes was made at a high government level. Several central bank officials confirmed the move but declined to speak publicly. Meanwhile, experts warn that the mint lacks capacity to cancel and reprint all the currency at once. They urge the government to release the existing printed notes to prevent further economic damage. Well, as the crisis continues, pressure mounts on the interim government to act swiftly and restore monetary stability in Bangladesh. Vaibhav Suryavanshi, you must have heard that name by now. At just 14 years and 32 days old, he has rewritten T20 cricket history. Vaibhav has become the youngest player ever to score a century in men's T20 cricket. He had already sent a warning shot to the world when he launched the very first ball he faced in the IPL into the stands. And now, in just his third match in one of the biggest T20 leagues on the planet, Vaibhav has done the unthinkable. A century of pure brilliance and a record-breaking one at that. He is now the youngest to score a 50 in IPL history, breaking the record set by his teammate Ryan Parag, who was nearly 3 years older. And Vaibhav's 50 came off just 17 balls, the fastest in the IPL season, bettering Lucknow's Nicholas Puran by a single delivery. The 14-year-old lit up the Savai Man Singh Stadium in Jaipur with his explosive batting and reached 3 figures in just 35 balls. That is the second fastest century in IPL history, only behind Chris Gale, who scored 8 in 30 balls. But he did become the fastest Indian centurion in IPL history, the youngest centurion ever in the IPL, and the second youngest centurion in all recorded representative cricket. His record-breaking innings helped Rajasthan defeat Gujarat Titans by 8 wickets. Vaibhav looks one of a kind, but cricket's history is filled with prodigies who evolved into legends. Sachin Tendulkar made his debut at just 16 and went on to become the game's greatest. Then Ricky Ponting, who made his Tasmania debut at 16, captained Australia to 2 World Cup victories. Rashid Khan at 17 revolutionized Afghanistan cricket and the T20 landscape. Noor Ahmed, inspired by Rashid, made his Afghan league debut at 14. He captured global attention and went on to join the BBL and IPL franchises all before his 20th birthday. And now, of course, there is Vaibhav Suryavanshi joining the league. While we are on with the U.S., Republican lawmakers are seeking to give U.S. President Donald Trump broad powers to charge and increased fees to migrants seeking asylum in America. The Republicans propose charging asylum seekers $1,000 per application at least, and $550 for being authorized as employees in the U.S. And this is among a slew of... In other news, and in a move set to challenge SpaceX Starlink, Amazon has launched its first set of internet satellites into orbit from Florida, signaling the start of their long-awaited broadband internet network from space. Well, part of the Kuiper Atlas 1 mission, a United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket lifted off from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, carrying 27 Kuiper satellites into orbit. The initial launch attempt, set for April 9th, was called off earlier due to bad weather conditions. Project Kuiper, the space-based internet venture of Jeff Bezos' Amazon, is now in a race to catch up with Elon Musk's Starlink. With a $10 billion investment, Amazon aims to launch around 3,200 satellites into low Earth orbit in the coming few years. Although pricing details are still under wraps, Amazon has assured that the pricing of its Kuiper service will be in line with its budget-friendly retail approach. Amazon Satellites is now a part of the expanding collection of spacecraft in low Earth orbit, including Musk's Starlink, Europe's OneWeb, and China's Guangwang constellation. Meanwhile, the growing density of satellites in the orbital region has led experts to voice concerns about congestion, the possibility of collisions, and adverse effects on astronomical viewing. Moreover, the expanding role of private companies in space has also raised thorny political questions, especially with Musk's influence extending beyond business into the political and diplomatic spheres.